Hi everyone, it's Tasleem here, and I can't believe it's been 2 weeks since my last video. I love doing these videos every week, but I realized I needed to kind of stop and think about something that I said in my last video. Basically, I lied. Well, don't worry, I didn't lie to you, but I was lying to myself. I was talking about how I'm having trouble walking and coordinating my left and right sides of my body and balancing, and with a lot of movement related everyday activities in my life because I have MS. But actually that's not the truth. The truth is that I'm having these problems because I was exposed to toxic black mold in my apartment and my managers did nothing about it, and I suffered because of it. And yes, because I have an autoimmune condition, because I have MS, the mold impacted my system greatly. And I was thinking to myself, why do I do that? I have this habit of not implicating other people and kind of like making light of very serious situations that, could have cost me my life, just so that I'm not saying something negative about someone else. But then I don't live in my truth, and I don't like that. I don't want to live a lie. I don't want to just be covering up for other people's negligence. And so I'm here to start my video by saying that I apologize, maybe not to you guys, but to myself for lying, because the truth is that I have gotten into a habit of covering up things that I think might hurt other people, but actually those people don't care if they're hurting me. And this actually is a great segue into my topic today, because there is actually a system in our body that is so clever that allows us to insulate these patterns of our behavior, of our skills, of our practices. And this is actually can be used for good, not evil. We can get into the habit, we can get into a pattern of lying to ourselves or covering up for other people, but we can also get into a habit of building really, really positive skills, living in our truth. They can even be like fine motor skills, like practicing piano or singing or dancing or math or martial arts or football. And we actually have a living system in our bodies that helps us to insulate these patterns that we would probably prefer to have in our lives. And this is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So, myelin is amazing. So, myelin is actually an insulator that allows us to insulate patterns of skills and behavior that we want to get better at, that we want to improve our skills at. And how it does this is that every skill that we have, whether it's talking, speaking another language, playing an instrument, dancing, playing a sport, whatever it is, that skill gets built up by fibers in our neural pathways, these circuits that actually get these like electrical impulses through our bodies. It's a living system that continues to grow and can continue to improve. And myelin is an insulator that wraps around these circuits so that every time we do some sort of practice, we kind of hold it in place. We make it stronger, we make it quicker. So every time you practice a dance skill or a dance move, or every time you practice that musical instrument, or every time you practice something in math, you are building more myelin. And this is crazy. This is for me, this was amazing, because do you know what the biggest problem they say is with MS and those kind of autoimmune conditions? Is that, and especially MS, is that MS starts breaking down the myelin sheath. It breaks down the sheath, the covering, the protective insulation that is supposed to help you build and develop skills. And so that's why people start losing their, like, they get weak in their bodies, or different parts of them start, like the coordination gets lost, and that kind of thing. And for years, people were saying that actually everybody loses myelin as they age, like it just wears down, but it's a very slow process. And with MS, it just gets heightened. It gets really quick, and sometimes it can be so rapid that it can lead to fatality. But there's a book that has completely changed my life that I read a few years ago. It's by a guy named Daniel Coyle, and it's called The Talent Code. And Daniel Coyle says and talks about how actually myelin can be built, it can be earned, it can be developed, again, not just as a child, not just when you're younger, but even as an adult and throughout the rest of your life, if you do deep practice of something. So what he says is deep practice is not just doing really hard work on practicing piano or dance or football and just doing it like for hours and hours, but actually honing in on specifics, like specific skills, honing in on the mistakes and doing that piece, that piano piece or that dance number or that 8-bar part of the dance, or one bar of music, or one particular skill in football, and doing it so that you start fixing the mistakes, that you actually use the mistakes to rewire the circuitry and in your brain so that your system works, so that it starts reprogramming the mistakes as new patterns that are without the mistakes. And the more you do with this, the more myelin you build, and the more myelin you build, the more you actually end up getting quicker and more coordinated, and your skill gets fast and deep. And I just was so excited about this because I realize now why within the 15 years, the first 15 years of when I was diagnosed with MS, why I wasn't having the problems that a lot of people have within the first few years, or that the MS clinic told me I would have within a few years. Because I was building myelin. Do you know I was building so much myelin from dance? I didn't even know it. I mean, the whole time I was like, oh, I'm not doing this correctly, or I'm messing this up, or I'm not as quick as this person or that person. But it actually didn't matter, because I was building myelin to the point where I was overpowering the myelin that was being, the myelin that the MS supposedly was breaking down. I was building myelin at the same time, so that MS actually wasn't breaking it down. It's like it was evening out, and probably my building of myelin was going faster and better because I was addicted to dance. I was also doing some other things, trying to learn languages, doing a little bit of piano, guitar. And at one point when I read this book, I don't know when it came out, but I read it a few years ago, thanks to a friend of mine, Rebecca and Spencer, friends through singing. And after I read it, every time I would dance, every time I'd practice something, I would make sure I did a deep practice, not just long practice, but focused practice. And I would tell myself, screw comparing myself to other people, because I am just building myelin. And the thing is, when I was exposed to all that mold and stuff and I didn't have proof of it, it was really overpowering for me, because I was living in it literally. Like, I didn't even know that I was, and it was in my surroundings, and I just wasn't dancing. I didn't know how to, because all of that was overpowering my body and I was getting scared. And of course, like, the conventional practitioners, like, who specialize in MS, were saying, oh, this is what happens when you have MS. But actually it isn't. It isn't, because it wasn't happening to me when I was going through it before the mold. And so Mathew Coyle talks about how different people in the neurological world that understand this power of myelin and the ability to grow it refer to myelin as the holy grail of skill building. If you want to build your skills in anything, you don't have to have a autoimmune condition to be able to do this. Actually, it's better if you don't, but whether you do or you don't, you just do deep practicing. You focus in on something that you really want to improve on, and not just play a whole piece or just run around on the football field, not really, targeting something. Do a targeted practice. Like, maybe it's a kick, maybe it's a it's a note that you want to reach in singing, maybe it's a range that you want to reach in your singing. Whatever it is, targeted practice, and use the mistakes to actually make you turn those mistakes into not mistakes, so that your brain starts rewiring this to the point where new neural circuitries start forming, and you end up with more skills, quicker skills, and you end up with more myelin, more installation for keeping the skills that you're building. And it doesn't matter what age you are, what you're going through, you can still build myelin. I don't know about you, but I am going to make sure that I do focused practice of dance and singing and things that I love doing. And all I am going to worry is not even the right word, all that I'm going to enjoy and just keep in my heart and my soul is to say, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the practitioners tell me that I cannot do. I don't care what other people are doing around me better or quicker or whatever, because I am building myelin. I am just building myelin, and I'm going to keep doing it. I know that's the reason that I was doing quite well for all these years, and I'm not going to let mold or anything else get to me because I have lots of ways to practice building myelin. To practice things and to build myelin. And one of my favorite ways, which I haven't been doing enough, is dancing. Thank you all for listening. Go practice. Go do deep practice. Build that myelin. It's insulating. It's targeting these, it's a living system in our bodies. And the more that we actually focus on building it, the more it is going to build for us. If we decide that it doesn't work, that we're too old, whatever, of course it's going to shut down, because you're helping the myelin shed away and break down. But if you keep doing practice, if you keep building those skills, if you keep remembering that throughout your whole life you are actually able to build myelin, then you will go out and do it. And the best way, one of the most fun ways, is to go and dance. Thank you.